You've heard of Chesty Puller, you've heard of Smedley Butler, but you probably haven't heard of Dan Daly, the 5'6", 135-pound Marine who may be the most badass warfighter in American history. He earned 2 Medals of Honor, turned down a commission, and might have accidentally inspired the Marine Corps' most iconic nickname, Devil Dogs. But Daly didn't start as a legend. He started as a paperboy in New York, and that one detail matters, because this was the 1800s, long before phones, radio, or the internet, and newspaper carriers were the only ones with instant access to world events. Daly followed the exploits of Theodore Roosevelt's Rough Riders like a religion, and when the Spanish-American War broke out, he raced to enlist. There was just one problem. By the time he joined the Marines, the war had ended. So instead of glory, Daly got stuck aboard the USS Newark. But fate had other plans. Just months into his assignment, the Boxer Rebellion erupted in China. A nationalist uprising swept through Beijing. Thousands of armed Chinese rebels, known as Boxers, stormed the city, believing their martial arts made them immune to bullets. And the Marines? They were the only force close enough to respond. Private Daly and a handful of Marines were dropped into a chaotic war zone with strict orders. Protect the international legation and hold the wall, at all costs. Then the other Marines left. Literally, they went to find reinforcements and left Private Daly alone to guard the wall. That night, 200 Boxer rebels stormed his position. They came with swords, staffs, and ancient rifles. Convinced their kung fu made them untouchable. What they found was an 18-year-old Marine with a machine gun, and he didn't stop firing until they stopped coming. When the Marines returned the next morning, they expected to find Daly dead. Instead, they found him alive, leaning on his machine gun, calmly smoking a pipe. He earned his first Medal of Honor that day, and barely seemed to care. Fast forward 15 years. Now a gunnery sergeant, Daly is leading a unit through Haiti during the Cocos Rebellion. His company gets ambushed. Their horse-drawn machine gun sinks in a river. At night, Daly strips off his gear, dives into the river, and retrieves every piece, 200 pounds of metal, hauled out alone. Then he leads a counterattack at dawn, scattering 400 enemy fighters. Second Medal of Honor. Still not impressed? Now it's 1918. Daly is 44 years old, older than most of the Marines under his command, and serving in World War I. At Belleau Wood, his unit is pinned down by machine gun fire. Ammo dumps are exploding. Commanders are wounded. Daly charges forward alone, again, takes out a machine gun nest with grenades and a Colt 45, and captures 14 Germans. Hours later, he senses his men are faltering. So he stands up in broad daylight, in the middle of no man's land, and screams the line that would echo through Marine Corps history. "Come on, you sons of bitches! Do you want to live forever?" The Marines charge. The German line collapses, and Belleau Wood is won. The Germans start calling U.S. Marines Teufelshunde, devil dogs, and while no one can prove it, many believe Daly is the reason why. He was put in for a third Medal of Honor, but DC said no, not because he didn't earn it, but because 3 would be too many. They gave him the Distinguished Service Cross and Navy Cross instead, and then they changed the rules so no one could ever earn more than 2 again. Daly eventually retired as a Sergeant Major, turning down officer promotions multiple times. Why? Because he said he'd rather be an outstanding sergeant than just another officer. He spent the rest of his life as a bank guard, because apparently 2 Medals of Honor, a pile of combat ribbons, and being the Marine Corps' ultimate living legend doesn't mean you want a quiet life. Dan Daly didn't seek glory, but it found him anyway. Comment below, was Dan Daly the most decorated warrior no one ever talks about?